Hi, I'm Angie Brown with buildingbetterleaders.org. I am your leadership coach and learning facilitator. In today's video, we are examining the identity room, or sometimes what I like to call the Who room, although it's not a band. So stay tuned while we talk about the core identity questions that we ask ourselves when we're in conflict. Be sure and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you would like new leadership tips and videos each week, and make sure you click the little bell so that you get notified each week when a new video arrives. So in today's video, we are examining the identity room. Now, I have throughout this video series talked about the book that I use in my coaching practice and in conflict resolution. And I've linked it below. You can easily click the link and order that off of Amazon. It is called Difficult Conversations: How to Discuss What Matters Most, because it's an amazing book that will help you with conflict resolution. Now, in the identity room, it's one of the rooms that I continue to talk about in this conflict house. And I have described it as a house because it makes sense to me. I teach it this way. It helps people understand that there is a structure to conflict. And this is just one of the rooms. As you've probably noticed in this series of videos, all of this conflict resolution really revolves around ourselves. And the identity room is no exception to that. In this room, we get to evaluate what we're thinking, how we can be challenged as to who we are and what we believe in the conflict. When I first started coaching, I remember that our instructors in my certification program said to us that we're always talking about what happened and who. And I remember thinking to myself, I just don't get this who business. And I finished my coaching certification. I've been coaching for a while now, and I see very clearly what they mean when they talk about the who, because often, especially in conflict, we think that it's about the other person, and we forget that we play a big piece of this. And what happens sometimes in the identity room is that we are having our own identity questioned. In the book, the author talks about 3 questions that we have in this room when it comes to our identity. Now, when we get down to these 3 questions, each of them are important because we have to ask ourselves, what's happening in this conflict? How is my identity being challenged? Because when we figure that out, we can start to unravel it so that we can make better decisions moving forward in conflict. Now, that first question is, am I competent? In leadership, I see this question a lot with my coaching clients. Some of them are newly promoted. Some of them have come into a position being the leader without much experience, really. Some of them are rising their ladder fairly quickly. And so sometimes that question, am I competent, arises because they question it themselves. So I can tell you what the am I competent question looks like. When I coach my clients, we will have these conversations, and it sounds something along the lines of this. I need to give feedback to someone, and this person has been in the industry longer than I have. And so when I want to give them feedback, I wonder if they're going to come back with something because they've got more experience than I do. See how the am I competent creeps in? You don't even know that that's really the question that you're asking. It is, though. You're asking the question, am I competent to hold this position, to have this title, to give feedback to other team members? Am I competent in what I'm doing? Now, that's only a question that you can answer. I would say to you that we are always in a learning mode, or at least we want to always be in a learning mode. So if you find yourself where you're asking yourself, am I competent? Maybe look at that question and think to yourself, are there skills I need to get, that I need to learn, that I need to listen better? Like, what are the skills that I need to feel fully competent? And do I need to go get those? Is it something that my company offers? Do I want to learn that on my own? The other thing I want you to ask yourself about that am I competent question is, In order to lead my team, do I really need to know everything? Or do I need to understand? Do I need to be a great listener? Do I need to be curious? Do I need to learn the art of that question so that if I don't know, I know how to go about getting that knowledge? Because sometimes you don't have to be the most educated person on the team to lead the team. You just need a different skill set. So the second question we often ask ourselves in the conflict house, in the room called identity, or the who, is, am I a good person? I was recently coaching a client of mine, and she was coming up against some feedback that she needed to give an employee of hers. And she was telling me about the feedback that she wanted to give. And literally, as I was listening to her describe the situation, I was thinking in my head, this doesn't sound that bad. And I'm not really sure what's happening. What is keeping her from wanting to give that feedback? And so we dug a little further and dug a little further. And all of a sudden she blurted out with almost out any reservation. She said, I'm afraid that if I say this feedback to this person that really needs the feedback, that my entire team is going to think I'm not nice. And I said, oh my gosh, there it is. She just verbalized without hesitation what was eating at her. And it was the question of, are they going to think I'm nice? Which translates to, am I a good person? Because you see, most of us wake up in the morning and we want to be good people. And so we've often been taught, through no fault of our own, that giving feedback that is firm or stern, or even things that help people grow, because they may hurt the other person for a moment, because sometimes feedback hurts, sometimes the truth hurts, even if it's said in a nice way. It's because we internalize that, right? And so we've been taught that if we hurt someone else, that we're not good people. So I would ask you, is that true? If you give feedback that momentarily hurts someone and also propels them at the same time with skills and new talents and new gifts that they can be better, does that make you a bad person? Is that true? I would also ask you, why are you giving that feedback? If you want to be a good person and help that person that you lead, are you doing them a greater disservice if you just stay quiet? And is that a good person? See, some of these questions you can only answer on your own. It's through the effective coaching and asking those questions that you start to uncover what's really happening for me. Why am I afraid to give feedback? Why am I struggling with this person on my team or a subordinate or even another leader? Why am I struggling? What's happening? And often it's that question of my identity. What does it look like for me? Now, the third question is, am I worthy? And you can add onto the end of that of love, of position, of trust. Am I worthy of title? Am I worthy of a whole bunch of things? Am I worthy? In a recent conflict resolution class, I asked the participants to pair up and share that, am I worthy of? And just to share with their partner what was coming up for them. Because I find that as leaders, we often don't get to sit and really talk about what we struggle with. And it's important that you have a group, a tribe of people that you can do that with so you can grow and uncover and be better. And it was amazing for me to walk around the room and listen to some of these questions of, am I worthy? Now, it's important for you to know when you're thinking about, am I worthy? Is, are you doing something that makes you think you're not worthy? Are you behaving in ways that are unbecoming of whatever it is you're trying to be worthy of, or that you feel that you might not be worthy of? It's important for you to do that self-analysis. Am I behaving in ways that are unbecoming? If the answer to that is no, then you have to question yourself of, where does that am I worthy come from? Sometimes it comes from a story that we've told ourselves long ago, or that another supervisor has said to us. I recently had a client that said to me that one of her supervisors told her a long time ago, literally like a long time ago, years and years ago, you're never going to be able to get to that position you want because you're not good at it. First of all, that's kind of mean, because I think as leaders, we need to give people some honest feedback and help them learn skills or get to a place where they want to be. I don't believe it's our job to be dream crushers. But second of all, as the years have gone by, that leader sat before me and had held on to that story that somebody else had told her. That's not even true anymore. That person has grown. She has become well known in her industry, and she is a bright and shining example of how you can move up the ladder. And so, no, that's not true anymore. So you have to ask yourself, what am I holding on to that's not really true for me? I would love to hear your comments and your feedback below. Now, as we move out of the house, as we move through the house and out of the house of conflict, I want to remind you of the very first video that we did that focuses on our mindset. You see, it's only through changing our belief system and our mindset that we can change our behavior, because our behavior starts in our heads. We talked about in the first video the difference between the right-wrong mindset and the curious mindset and what those two look like. In every room, I want you to be curious. As you have learned about each of these areas of conflict and each of these rooms, as I continue to call them, you've probably learned a little bit more about yourself and your style and your leadership thinking. I want you to know that whatever age you are, it's taken you this long to get there. And so give yourself some grace as you begin to change. Change does not happen overnight. We can choose overnight to be different. It's just that sometimes our behavior takes a little while to catch up. So give yourself some grace. When you're in conflict and you're feeling things, or you're trying to figure out what happened, or you're understanding and deconstructing stories, you're challenging your own belief system, give yourself some grace for the change to happen. Keep at it because it will happen, but give yourself some grace. I'd love to thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this YouTube channel, and join me on my Facebook community. I've linked that below. It is specifically for leaders so that we can share tips and techniques, talk about new learnings, new books, and more.